A crowd of people like zombies clogged the bar's exit. They screamed in panic. Their faces were twisted in fear. At that moment, firefighters arrived. A man staggered toward them. He was on the verge of tears. He said someone had a grudge against the DJ, and through a bunch of smoking cans, people were trapped inside. Firefighters tried to pull people out, but it was clearly impossible. Then a firefighter looked up and saw a woman hanging from the wall, having climbed out of the top floor. The firefighters had no choice but to split into two groups. One team donned gas masks and broke into the emergency exit. Inside, people were sprawled on the floor, coughing incessantly, clearly overwhelmed by the smoke. The other team climbed a trash can and scaled a drain pipe upward, while firefighters below prepared to set up a ladder. The woman was barely holding on.
Ladder's almost here, just hang on.
Kelly finally reached her, stretching out his hand and telling her to grab it. But in the next second, the woman swung in midair like she was on a swing. She was so terrified she burst into tears. Just then the team below carefully pushed the ladder closer, the woman was finally rescued. Meanwhile, the other firefighters rushed toward the first floor, clearing away scattered individuals as they went. They rescued the trapped people one by one. Then on the ground, they discovered the culprit, a can of pepper spray. After an hour of intense work, the firefighters, exhausted, completed this absurd mission. There was a car accident on the bridge. A car crashed into a street light, but the driver was nowhere to be found. The man in the passenger seat had his leg trapped. He said the car lost control while trying to avoid a cyclist. Just then, Cruz noticed a finger stuck in the car's front grille. He immediately crouched down to take a closer look.
I found the biker!
When Cruz reached out to check, he found the man was already dead. The priority now was to rescue the man in the passenger seat and find the missing driver. Meanwhile, on the same bridge, a man was staring at the lake below. Rookie Mills saw this and quickly ran toward him.
Hey, please, don't jump.
It turned out he was the driver, scared of taking responsibility and considering an extreme way out. But Mills told him,
No, he's alert and stable. Movement through his extremities.
His eyes showed he didn't believe a word Mills said. The man insisted he saw the person under the car get crushed. Mills explained that what you see isn't always true. The person was only temporarily unconscious. At that moment, Chief Bowden and Lieutenant Casey arrived. Mills said, if you don't believe me, you can ask them if the man is still alive.
Broken right femur, couple broken ribs. Apart from that, he's gonna be fine.
Promise me you're not lying.
Mills swore he wasn't lying. Finally, the man believed him and was rescued by the team.
I figured it was better to lie to him and get him down. He could get over it later.
You figured right.
Even experienced firefighters couldn't believe it. Accelerant sprayed out of the fire sprinkler system. Sparks flew everywhere, almost wiping out the entire fire crew. Just moments ago, a fire broke out in an abandoned building. The firefighters on the scene were not in a hurry to extinguish the flames. It turned out the building was scheduled for demolition in a week. As long as the fire didn't spread, there was no need to risk the firefighters' lives. However, Jack, who was on patrol, noticed a pile of empty bottles by the wall. He immediately realized there was a high chance homeless people were inside.
Yeah, let it burn. We got civilians inside.
Just then, two kids emerged from a corner. Firefighter Andy quickly ran to assist, but the girl said there were 5 more kids inside. Without waiting, she turned and ran back into the building. Without much time to think, Andy had no choice but to follow her. Led by the girl, they quickly found the trapped kids. At the same time, the fire suddenly intensified. Blocking the way they had entered, Andy quickly called for backup. That's when the firefighters outside realized there was no water in the fire hydrant. In this critical situation, they had to use fire extinguishers to provide support. Suddenly, Andy noticed the sprinkler system on the roof. The sprinkler system had an independent water supply. The girl said she knew where the valve was located. Together they found the valve. Meanwhile, Dean noticed something strange. The liquid dripping from the sprinklers was actually fueling the fire. Realizing the danger, he immediately warned Andy, but it was too late. As the valve opened, all the sprinklers activated at once. The flames that should have been extinguished instead spread across the entire area on the ground. Fortunately, Andy quickly shut off the valve. At the same time, with coordination from the city authorities, water finally flowed through the fire hydrants. Multiple hoses sprang into action, and the fire was quickly brought under control. Everyone made it out safely, escaping the danger just in time. Later, they learned the accelerant in the pipes was antifreeze. The building owner confirmed that they put it in the system to keep the water supply from freezing over. The wealthy lady surprisingly demanded the arrest of her daughter because the daughter stole her bag and sold it at a pawn shop. But the family was so rich, why would the daughter still do this? It turns out the mother is a stepmother.
Are you sure that's what her father would want?
Her father wants whatever I tell him.
Officer Chen could only take the girl back to the police station. The girl said her mother died of cancer last year. Her father had been hooking up with that woman while her mom was in hospice. She even convinced the father to hold onto the money her mom left her. Looking at this poor girl, Chen didn't know how to help her either.
You're in a bad situation, but stealing, it's not gonna make it better.
Well,
One day Chen received a call from the pawn shop. The girl had stolen something and pawned it again. But this time, she didn't ask for money but a gun. The two rushed to the mansion, but heard gunshots from upstairs. They quickly went upstairs with their guns to check, only to find the girl holding a gun shooting wildly at the stepmother's bag. Hearing the cops arriving, she slowly put down the gun. The stepmother cowered aside terrified, seeing the girl being arrested by the cop. The stepmother immediately came out claiming that the girl should compensate her for the bag. Just then the housekeeper appeared, originally intending to resign. But witnessing the girl's tragic situation, since the mistress's death, she could only watch the girl being bullied. Now she couldn't bear it anymore.
Would you like to see where Mrs. hides all her drugs?
Yes. Yes, we would.
This time the woman was completely finished. The man was sitting at home watching TV. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Within minutes, he was completely blind. He quickly called 911. When the paramedics arrived, they comforted the man. At that moment, Dawson noticed that the back of his head was still bleeding. She carefully lifted his collar and was shocked.
Bullet. What?
There was a gunshot wound on the back of his neck. While everyone was still confused, another gunshot rang out. The paramedics quickly helped the man up and escorted him to the ambulance. Before they could leave, a cop stopped the paramedics. Upstairs in the man's building, another victim had been found. This victim was unconscious, and a woman nearby was screaming hysterically, shouting that she wanted to kill the man. The paramedics gently cut open the man's shirt. It turned out that the bullet in the victim's chest had pierced through the floor above and struck the man downstairs in the neck. By now, the injured victim's lung function was failing. The paramedic injected him with epinephrine and lifted him onto a stretcher, transporting him to the hospital for treatment. Just then, the sound of a baby crying came from the bedroom. Shay followed the sound and found the baby with the help of the police. The baby was sent to a nearby community center. The little monk picked up a small fish and tied a stone to its body, then picked up a frog and tied a stone to its body as well. He even picked up a snake and tied a stone to its body. Watching them struggle to move, the little monk showed a pure smile. The old monk saw all of this, but he did not immediately point out the little monk's mistake. Instead, he waited until the little monk was asleep and tied a stone to his body too. In the morning, the little monk woke up and feeling wronged, went to his master hoping he could help untie the stone. The master asked him if he had also tied stones to those small animals. The little monk said yes. The master told him to stand up and walk around, but he fell to the ground because the stone was too heavy. The master said, "You can't even walk. Do you think those small animals can?" The old monk's words enlightened the little monk. He hurriedly rowed a boat out of the temple and found the tied-up fish, but the fish was already dead. The little monk felt a bit sad, so he dug a hole and buried the little fish. Soon he found the frog. Fortunately, it was still alive. The little monk released it, but when he saw the miserable state of the dead snake, the little monk finally couldn't hold back and burst into tears. This was the darkest side of the internet nowadays. A girl's upper body showed the beauty of a slender figure, but her lower body was stout like a pig. Under the gaze of the camera, how many secrets were hidden? As the top internet celebrity in South Korea's mukbang scene, Kim had tens of millions of fans to follow her because of her big eater image. One day she was invited to be a guest on Lucy's live stream, who was also a well-known mukbang broadcaster. At this moment, Lucy suddenly played a video of Kim eating during the live stream. There were 50 sausages in front of Kim, but during the eating process, a frame of her spitting food suddenly flashed on the screen, and the cola she had just taken a sip of suddenly decreased significantly. It was obvious that Kim's videos were edited. They then had a live PK. As a result, when Lucy had eaten all the sausages, Kim had only eaten 7 and was so full that she vomited. Unable to accept the humiliation, Kim left in frustration. Since then, Lucy's fame skyrocketed due to this incident. She transformed into South Korea's new top mukbang broadcaster. Months later, during a live broadcast, Lucy suddenly received a PK invitation, and it was from Kim, who had undergone stomach enlargement surgery. The parrot became the girl's teacher. It taught the stuttering girl to speak every day. But when it was the girl's turn, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't speak. Mom believed the parrot could do it. However, Dad was very irritable, thinking the parrot couldn't teach the daughter, and she would never learn to speak normally. The parents' quarrels made the girl very sad. The parrot understood her troubles. Mom excitedly hugged her daughter. From then on, the parrot stayed by the girl's side, guiding her to speak. The girl's speech became more and more fluent. However, the father became worried, thinking the daughter was too dependent on the parrot. So he discussed with his wife about sending the parrot away. The girl was very sad when she heard it. She decided to teach the parrot with a fear of heights to learn to fly, because only then could it come back to her at any time. Seeing that the parrot still didn't dare to fly, she naively climbed onto the roof to demonstrate how to fly. Luckily, the father caught the girl in time. Seeing the parrot that caused the girl to be in danger, the father forcibly sent it away.